Hello, Hamish here from mortgagesonline.co.nz. I have got Ed McKnight with me, an economist with Opes Partners who help people grow wealth through property. And Ed, we're going to talk about the kind of price growth you could expect, the kind of flat patch we could expect, and we're going to actually look at a real life example, right? Let's say somewhere like, I don't know, pick a suburb, Ed.
Well, my favourite to look at the moment is Manga in Auckland.
Okay,
the reason I like Manga
Can I just call it Mangere, Ed?
You can if you like.
Or Mangeray.
And the reason I like Manga is that it has a really high capital growth rate.
Yep.
Over the last 18 years, it's been 8.08%, but it's still a very affordable option for property investors. The median house price that I've seen in Manga is about $660. Might have increased a little bit since then, but generally we're looking around that $700K.
Okay, that's crazy, because if you had an 8% growth over the next 10 years, you could expect your $700,000 property that you're buying now to gain equity by 800 grand. Obviously, though, there is a big disclaimer, right, Ed? Because it's not all linear.
Yes. The other disclaimer is that past growth does not necessarily indicate future growth. That's the other big one to know.
Yep.
But you are right, because it doesn't go up in a straight line. Now, if you looked at the median house price in New Zealand, because it is an average, it's going to be flatter. But because we're looking at an individual suburb, which is going to be impacted by whatever happens within that suburb, within the city, within the region, we are going to see more peaks and troughs than you would in an average data set.
Correct. So the reality is more like this. You're going to have peaks and troughs, but the long-term average, when you look at macroeconomics, you can get a positive kind of long-term growth of what did we say? What's your long-term growth that you see?
Within New Zealand, we're looking at 6.5% has been the average over the last 20 years. When we're doing forecasts, we like to be conservative. We'll use 5 to 6%. Just so that we can be really conservative. Now, really, there are only 2 data points that matter when you're investing in a property yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you bought it for and what you eventually sell it for. But if you get spooked by some of these troughs, but with some of these flat patches that you see, then you might be encouraged to sell early before you actually get that growth and get that high sale price. And that's where you'd miss out on some of this growth and wealth.
Okay, well, let's just put that 5% in here, right, and be a bit more realistic. So bought a 700 grand property today. If it's following the long-term averages in the next 10 years, it will over long term anyway, but 10 years, if it did happen to get 5% growth, you're looking at an increase of 440 grand, which is not a small amount.
Which is significant. And the thing we always bring this back to is, what are you building wealth for? And for a lot of people, it is for retirement, because we know we have a real retirement savings problem in New Zealand. We often hear, especially in Auckland, about the working poor. I think that we're at real risk in our country of having the retiring poor. But if you can buy one property and over 10 years have an extra 440K for your retirement, that's really going to help you and your family out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the key thing is, when you're buying, how do you hold long term, because that's when you see the gain, right?
Yes.
Instead of trying to chase the next big suburb, which can be impossible, right, Ed?
Oh, but if you're always trying to
we wouldn't have expected Mangere to have, 15 years ago. I know I bought a property in Mangere, and at that point, I think my family was kind of like, oh, why are you going? This area could be a bit.
It's lower socioeconomic.
It could be a bit harder to get the gain out of, but hey. It happened, right?
And we are seeing real gentrification in Manga as well, which is one of the reasons why we are seeing growth. But the thing is, we see growth almost everywhere, and it really comes back to the city, for instance. So because Manga is relatively close to the city centre, people will still want to live there. Yep. Now that we've got the Waterview Tunnel being opened, it only takes 21 minutes to drive from the Manga town centre to the Sky Tower. That's the same time it takes to drive from St Heliers to the Sky Tower. So things change, and these places can become more attractive, which fuels some of that growth.
Well, look, thank you for coming in, Ed, and look, thank you guys for watching. We will, leave you to scroll to other more interesting things, and see you. Have a good day.